Our next subject is all the more important because we have just gotten the latest jobs figures for this country. Canadian economy lost 66,000 jobs in August. I've got a quote here from the chief economist of BMO, Bank of Montreal. They don't like to call it Bank of Montreal anymore. BMO, I should say. Douglas Porter says this was worse than expected. It's arguably the weakest jobs report since the pandemic. Ouch. So we've got trouble in this country with an unemployment rate. And this week, there's been a lot of focus on the temporary foreign workers program. A couple of days ago, Pierre Poilievre said he wants it gone. His shadow minister for immigration, Michelle Rempel-Garner, joined us on the program yesterday. Here's what she said.
1 in 5 kids who tried to get a job this summer, who returned to school this fall without getting one. We're in a huge youth unemployment crisis right now in Canada. At the end of the day, the temporary foreign work program is something that the government can control right now. And when we have skyrocketing youth unemployment levels and, stories of kids putting out hundreds of resumes to restaurant jobs, to others, and not getting a single nibble, the program needs to go.
Tyrell Chambers is a man who has been following the temporary foreign workers program, runs a website called jobwatchcanada.com, where you can see maps of businesses that are using the temporary foreign workers program and a whole lot more. He joins us on the line. Tyrell, thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Why don't you tell our listeners, why did you start this website? Why did you take time out of your day to start a website called jobwatchcanada.com looking at the temporary foreign workers program?
Well, it actually started rather simply. I was a fan of what this other website called Canada Spends was doing, where it sort of reports on how the government is spending our money. And I went into the Government of Canada's website and was looking for a particular data set that I could bring to light, I guess you could say, or give more visibility to. And I happened across the data set for the Temporary Foreign Workers Program, or the LMIA stuff. And one thing led to another. I decided, okay, well, this seems like it could be pretty useful to show people. And one thing led to another, and the site became what it is, and sort of exploded from nothing. And it got really humble beginnings. Nothing too extravagant, but just tried to bring to light some data that the government had.
Well, it's certainly making an impact. I'm seeing politicians now reference your website. So while you've looked at the data, right, you start this website, you must be looking at the data that you're bringing in and the maps and everything. What have you figured out? What have you seen by looking at the data? What's happening in this country? What should our listeners know?
Well, there's just some weird discrepancies. When you look at the jobs that are posted, the companies that are looking for TFWs, you start seeing weird patterns. For example, like, why is a Tim Hortons or a Subway in a big city trying to hire a temporary foreign worker? With unemployment the way it is, it strikes me as odd that would be something that these businesses are reaching for. And it strikes me as odd as if there would be no high schoolers, for example, or just anyone looking for a job that would be accepted. So there's just some weird things that you start noticing when you start looking at all this data and collecting stories.
One of the things that strikes me is not just that these jobs are there. It's the wages that apparently are being paid, okay? Making burritos in Ottawa for $36 an hour, or scooping ice cream in BC for $35 an hour, or working at a Canadian Tire for $42 an hour. Something's not adding up for me. Now, as I look at your website, Tyrell, I'm looking at your website and I'm looking at the various tabs. You can go by the map, you can see the reports, and you also have a tab on your website that's called The Scam. I want you to explain, as best as you can, what you feel is the scam here.
Yeah, absolutely. That was put together because, like you said, it's really weird that someone would be cooking at Subway or another restaurant like that for $36 an hour. And if you look into the job postings, you'll see this particular figure included more often than not. And the rabbit hole runs deep with this, but from what I've been gathering since I've started this thing and from hearing testimonies from other people, including people who are well versed in this program because they work in this department, for example, within the government, this $36 an hour refers to the stream that a business could enter, like a high wage stream. And that page sort of details how the temporary foreign worker wouldn't actually be being paid that $36, but there would be underhanded business going on under the table where the temporary foreign worker might pay some of that back, might in other ways try and facilitate a path to permanent residency. And so that page in particular is a summary of a discussion that was had on Reddit from someone who is in the government related or close to the LMIA temporary foreign worker processes. And so that page just lays out how the salary correlates with the stream that the business goes into when applying for an LMIA. And it details all of the underhanded sort of backdoor business that seems to be taking place.
With Tyrell Chambers, wrapping up here with him. Everyone, run, don't walk to this website. Everyone should be checking. I know some of you already are. jobswatchcanada.com if you want to see the data and the map of the temporary foreign workers program and these labor market impact assessments that are done. To wrap up here, Tyrell, I just got to ask you, I don't know, what's your background? Why is this so important to you to be exposing this?
Well, my background is I'm just a simple dude that likes to make websites and likes to present data. And I just so happened, like I said, to stumble across this. And I noticed that there just were things that weren't adding up. I noticed that there were people talking about this sparsely in social media. I noticed that certain companies, it seemed like, and from firsthand experience or secondhand, if you will, weren't focused on hiring Canadians. And so just a bunch of things didn't add up. And I decided to, take another step and see what was going on behind the scenes.
Are you encouraged by what you've heard this week? So, we have, of course, Pierre Poilievre said it a couple of days ago, but yesterday, the NDP Premier of British Columbia, David Eby, pretty much said the same thing. The program has to go. Do you think that your work is being seen and heard? Is this encouraging for you?
Well, that certainly surprised me when I read that. I think there is a time and place for a program like this. I don't want to paint it with a broad brush and say, let's axe the entire thing altogether, because I just don't have that kind of information. But I do think that there are weird things going on with it and that it should be scrutinized and pulled back at the very least.
Tyrell, thanks so much for coming on the show and talking about your website. I think our listeners appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can talk again in the future.
Hey, thank you very much.
That's Tyrell Chambers, the website, jobwatchcanada.com. If you want to see the data and see the maps and see more about the scam, the quote-unquote scam, yourself.